This speculative narrative explores the hypothetical reality of an ancient Egyptian curse affecting modern times, blending myth with consequence.
Chapter 1: Awakening the Pantheon. In the heart of the Valley of the Kings, the sun cast a golden hue over the ancient sands, touching the hieroglyphs etched into stone with a warmth that seemed to stir the spirits of the past. The air was thick with the dust of millennia, and the silence of the desert was a reverent pause before the awakening of legends long asleep. For centuries, the tombs of the pharaohs had slumbered undisturbed, their sanctity preserved by the reverence of those who believed in the power of the ancient gods. But the modern world had little time for such beliefs, and the lure of untold riches and knowledge hidden within these sacred chambers had drawn explorers, archaeologists, and treasure hunters from all corners of the globe. It was in this age of curiosity and desecration that the legend of the curse of the pharaohs began to take on a life of its own. Whispers of a supernatural force protecting the tombs circulated among the local populace, a force that would unleash its wrath upon any who dared to disturb the eternal rest of the kings. The first chapter of our tale begins with the discovery of a previously unknown tomb, one that bore no name but was marked by ominous symbols that spoke of a pharaoh who had been erased from history. The team of archaeologists, led by the intrepid Dr. Evelyn Meriwether, stood at the threshold of the tomb, the weight of the moment heavy upon their shoulders. As they breached the seal, a gust of wind emerged from the darkness within, as if the tomb itself were exhaling for the first time in thousands of years. The torches flickered, casting long shadows that danced upon the walls, and for a moment it seemed as though the figures in the frescoes moved in silent judgment. Dr. Meriwether, a scholar well-versed in ancient Egyptian lore, felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cool air of the tomb. She recalled the ancient texts that spoke of protective spells and guardians summoned by the high priests to watch over the pharaohs in the afterlife. Had they awakened something more than just the interest of the academic world? As the team ventured deeper, they found artifacts and treasures that defied explanation, each piece more exquisite than the last. But it was the sarcophagus that drew them in, a masterpiece of craftsmanship that seemed to pulse with an energy of its own. The moment the sarcophagus was opened, the world seemed to hold its breath. Inside lay the remains of the pharaoh, undisturbed, the death mask a visage of power and eternal vigilance. But it was the inscription that caught Dr. Meriwether's eye, an ominous warning that promised death to those who disturbed the king's slumber. In the days that followed, strange occurrences began to plague the team. Equipment malfunctioned, inexplicable illnesses struck, and tensions rose as if fueled by an unseen force. The local workers whispered of the curse, their eyes filled with fear, but the foreigners pressed on, driven by the promise of fame and enlightenment. As Dr. Meriwether delved into the hieroglyphs and the lore surrounding the tomb, she began to piece together a narrative that suggested the pharaoh had been a guardian of a powerful secret, a secret that was never meant to be unearthed. The curse, it seemed, was not merely a tale to frighten children, but a very real warning. The chapter closes with Dr. Meriwether standing at the edge of a revelation, the lines between science and the supernatural blurring. The awakening of the Pantheon was not just a metaphorical stirring of the past, but perhaps a literal awakening of forces beyond human comprehension. The question that lingered in the air, as tangible as the dust of the tomb, was whether the world was ready for the secrets that lay hidden within the heart of the Valley of the Kings. Chapter 2: The Curse Manifest. The desert night descended upon the Valley of the Kings, draping the ancient landscape in a cloak of impenetrable darkness. The stars above, once navigators for the souls of the departed pharaohs, now bore silent witness to the unfolding drama below. In the excavation camp, the air was thick with unease, as the team members recounted the day's eerie events around the flickering campfire. Dr. Evelyn Meriwether sat apart from the group, her mind a tempest of ancient texts and the day's harrowing discoveries. The curse inscribed within the tomb had become more than a scholarly interest. It was now a palpable presence, an uninvited guest at their camp, lurking in the shadows just beyond the firelight. As the night deepened, the first tangible manifestation of the curse took hold. A sudden, chilling wind swept through the camp, extinguishing the fire and plunging the team into darkness. Panicked shouts filled the air as the archaeologists scrambled for their torches, only to find that their electric lights flickered and died, one by one, as if drained by an unseen force. In the suffocating blackness, a sound emerged, a low, resonant hum that seemed to emanate from the earth itself. It was a sound that none had heard before, yet it struck a primal fear into their hearts. The workers, their beliefs rooted in the old ways, began to pray in hushed tones, invoking the protection of the gods they had been taught to revere. Dr. Meriwether, her rational mind battling the creeping dread, attempted to calm her colleagues. But even as she spoke, a series of misfortunes befell the camp. A renowned Egyptologist, Professor Jameson, suddenly collapsed, clutching his chest in agony. The camp's medical officer rushed to his aid, but his condition was beyond any explanation. His heart raced as if he'd run for miles, yet he had not moved from his seat. As the team tended to the professor, the ground beneath them trembled. It was a subtle vibration at first, but it grew in intensity until the very sand seemed to ripple like the surface of a disturbed pond. Tents collapsed, equipment tumbled, and the sound of shattering glass filled the air as the tremor reached its peak. In the chaos, Dr. Meriwether's eyes were drawn to the tomb's entrance, now agape like the maw of some ancient beast. A faint, ethereal light emanated from within, casting an otherworldly glow upon the scattered stones. It was as if the tomb itself beckoned, daring the living to witness the power of the curse they had so foolishly awakened. The next morning, the team awoke to find the landscape altered. The path to the tomb, once clear, was now obscured by a sudden growth of thorny vines, as if nature itself conspired to protect the sanctity of the pharaoh's resting place. The workers refused to approach the tomb, their fear of the curse now a tangible barrier as impenetrable as the vines. Dr. Meriwether, her scientific curiosity warring with the mounting evidence of the supernatural, knew that the answers lay within the ancient texts that accompanied the artifacts. She pored over the papyrus scrolls, her eyes tracing the hieroglyphs that spoke of a pharaoh who had brokered a pact with the gods, a pact that granted him the power to protect his realm in life and in death. As the team grappled with the reality of the curse, reports of their plight reached the outside world. Skeptics dismissed the incidents as coincidence, the product of natural phenomena and the stress of the excavation. But those who had felt the cold touch of the curse knew better. The curse was real, and it had manifested in a way that defied all logic. The chapter concludes with Dr. Meriwether making a chilling discovery. The hieroglyphs revealed that the curse was not a static relic of the past, but a living covenant, one that could grow in strength and reach beyond the confines of the tomb. The world was indeed unprepared for the secrets of the Valley of the Kings, and the curse of the Pharaohs was not just a warning, it was a declaration of war against the hubris of the modern age. In the shadowed embrace of the Valley of the Kings, where the whispers of the ancients were as tangible as the stone beneath one's feet, the world teetered on the cusp of a new epoch. The air itself seemed charged with the electricity of revelation, as if the very heavens were poised to unveil secrets long held in the silent grip of the desert. Dr. Evelyn Meriwether, her mind a labyrinth of ancient lore and modern reason, stood at the precipice of understanding. The curse, a living testament to the pharaoh's pact with the gods, had woven itself into the fabric of their reality, its threads pulling at the sanity of those who dared to uncover its mysteries. The team, once driven by the thirst for knowledge, now found themselves ensnared in a web of psychological torment. Nightmares plagued their sleep, visions of a time when gods walked among men, their divine will shaping the destiny of empires. These dreams, so vivid and intense, left the explorers questioning the nature of their own existence, blurring the lines between the past and the present, the real and the surreal. In the heart of the tomb, where the air was heavy with the scent of myrrh and the echoes of eternity, Dr. Meriwether uncovered an artifact unlike any other, a stele inscribed with the names of the gods, a celestial map that charted the course of the stars and the fates of mortals. It was a key, she realized, a bridge between worlds that the pharaoh had been charged to guard. As the days unfolded, the world outside the valley remained blissfully unaware of the forces that had been set in motion. But within the camp, reality was fracturing. The team members found themselves speaking in tongues they had never learned, their hands crafting symbols of power in the desert sands. The gods of old were not just myth and legend, they were awakening, their essence bleeding into the consciousness of those who had disturbed their domain. The curse's reach extended beyond the physical ailments and environmental anomalies. It was a catalyst for a greater awakening. The gods, long silent, were stirring, their voices a low thrum in the minds of the chosen. The Pantheon demanded recognition, a return to the reverence of old, and the world would have to listen or face the consequences of their indifference. Dr. Meriwether, her resolve fortified by the knowledge that humanity stood on the brink of a new dawn, took it upon herself to become the emissary of the ancients. She understood that the curse was not a punishment, but a call to remember, to reconnect with the divine forces that had once been integral to the human experience. The final night before the world would learn of their fate, the team gathered under a sky ablaze with stars, the constellations of the ancient Egyptians shining down upon them with a clarity that pierced the soul. In that moment, the barrier between the mortal and the divine evaporated, and the explorers were granted an audience with the gods themselves. The deities spoke not of wrath, but of balance and the role of humanity in the cosmic tapestry. They offered wisdom, a chance to heal the rift that had grown between the world of the living and the realm of the divine. The curse, it seemed, was also a blessing, a chance to restore harmony and to embrace a future where gods and mortals could coexist. As dawn painted the desert with hues of rose and gold, the team emerged from the tomb, forever changed. They had been given a mission, a purpose that transcended the mere uncovering of ancient relics. They were to be the heralds of a new era, where the forgotten gods would once again walk among the people, guiding them towards a future where the past was not a distant memory, but a living, breathing part of the present. And so, dear listener, the tale concludes not with an ending, but with a beginning. For in the awakening of the Pantheon lies the potential for transformation, for a world enriched by the wisdom of the ancients. What will we do with this knowledge? Will we heed the call of the gods, or will we turn a deaf ear to the lessons of history? The sands of time continue to flow, and the story of humanity is still being written. The curse of the Pharaohs, a harbinger of change, invites us to ponder our place in the grand design. It is for us to decide whether to embrace the legacy of the past or to forge a path of our own making. The choice is ours, and the gods are watching.